This is lesson 2, part B, words and terms of radio. We get these babies down and then we move on to actually programming a radio station. Welcome back to the course, How to Be a Radio Program Director. This is lesson 2, part B of words and terms that are used in radio a lot, and they will be peppered throughout this course. So let's get them out of the way now before we move on to programming. And the first thing we're going to start off with is music coding. And this should be pretty simple. It should be super simple if you're already in radio. You would already be dealing with these. Maybe not actually doing them, but you're working with them. And what we're going to do is code a song, because every song needs to get coded. And the reason for that is because the jocks on the air have to know the pieces of the song, the criteria. For instance, if you happen to pick up a CD, if you had CDs, or even more digital, you download a digital song and you look at it, you see title and artist, which you definitely need to know. You probably will see the timing of the song, the ending. So it might say 3 minutes, 26 seconds long, which you're going to need, and we'll do that. But there's other pieces. If you're on the air, you need to know, like, what kind of beginning does it have? How's it start? Does it start off cold, which is a term? That would be like Hey Jude, where Paul McCartney just starts right off singing Hey Jude. Or American Pie by Don McLean, cold start. The other one would be a intro. We call it an intro. It's the music part that's at the beginning of the song. It might be 6 seconds, 10 seconds, it could be a minute. You tell the jock what that intro time is. Say it's 20 seconds. And then the jock knows he has 20 seconds to talk over that to get to the post, which is essentially another way of saying where the artist starts to sing. That's a big deal. If you're a jock on the air, you want to know the intro to the song so that you can talk up the post. Like the intro is playing right now, typical song, and then just about right now, you're going to hear the singer sing, and that will be hitting the post. The other critical part for the jock is, how does that song end? Does it fade out, or does it end cold, like, say, Won't Get Fooled Again by The Who? The jock on the air has to know, am I going to talk over the end of this to try to get into commercials, or how do I put the next song up to it? That type of stuff. With length, we talked about, obviously you got to know how long the song is, and the tempo. Is it fast? Is it slow? Is it really fast? Is it dead slow? So you need the tempo. And the musical genre. What kind of song is this? Is it pop? Is it country? Is it wimpy? Hard rock? Rap? What is this type of thing? So let me just throw one out here. Elton John, Your Song, you'd sort of code it like this. All right, let's move on to stuff a little bit more complex. And we're not just coding songs now, we're actually coding the system. These are more like the commands of what to do with the other information you already gave it. So we gave it the information of the songs specifically. Now we're getting into, how do you want to play those songs? How do you want them to come up? This is where the stuff becomes way more critical. We'll start off with the two easy ones. Artist separation, that's one. The other one is title separation. Artist separation is this. Let's say right this moment I'm playing Elton John. So the question you have to ask yourself, if I play Elton John right this moment, do I want to hear another Elton John song 10 minutes from now? Or 20 minutes from now? Or an hour and a half, 5, 3, 6? What time would that be? The typical is somewhere around an hour and a half to 2 hours, but I've seen them shorter and I have definitely seen them longer. Title separation is identical, except that it's the separation of the title to the song. Let's say you're playing Wham's Last Christmas. 10 artists have done the same song. Same thing, you don't want Last Christmas coming up 10 minutes later, there's a different version. So you would set a title separation for that particular title, and the computer would just handle that stuff. Finally, one more thing that says CanCon here, that's for Canada. There are other countries that have to do this too. Canada has a requirement where a certain percentage, it's 35% in Canada, of the music that's played on the radio has to be Canadian content. Made by a Canadian, produced in Canada, written by Canadians, that sort of thing. Other countries have it too, and you have to code for it because you have to give reports to the government. One of the main facets of building a radio station is building hot clocks. They look like this. What this is a graphic representation of 1 hour of programming, a typical hour on a radio station. But there's nothing typical about these because one station can have 150, 160 of these clocks running at all times. And then you multiply that by the amount of formats in the world, and there is, hundreds of thousands of clocks. And there's no particular way to do them. What you're doing is you're laying out in your mind how you want the radio station to sound. So in this particular instance, if you look up and you see the black sections, that would be commercials. Now, they don't have to be this way or where they are. But in this instance, what that's saying is there's 3 different commercial breaks. They're playing spots, which are also called commercials. They're playing spots in those 3 different sections. The other sections with the green, red, blue, yellow, and that type of stuff, that would be categories of music. And when you go from one block to another, that would be called a sweep. So you're doing a sweep from one break to another break. You'd put jingles in here. If you play jingles, you would definitely put IDs in here. Lots of different types of IDs. There's IDs that go into commercials. There's IDs that are in sweeps in between the songs. There's another one called the top of the hour ID, which is a legal ID. In North America, you must give at least one time per hour the legal call letters of the radio station and the city of license. I'll give you some examples of that. Here's a plain one for a station in Detroit.
WVMV and WVMV HD1, Detroit's home for smooth jazz. V98, V98.7.
Now here's one that's jacked up just a little bit. They've taken an illegal ID, added a little bit of creativity to it, and also are talking about their morning show.
This is WCBS-FM and WCBS-FM HD1, New York City.
Great music all the time.
Scott Shannon in the morning.
101.1 CBS-FM.
Promos are things that a station is, usually they're contest, or maybe they're sponsoring a concert, somebody's coming into town, or they just want to talk about something and they're produced. A liner is sort of the same thing, a way shorter version, but it's a version that the jock is saying live. There usually isn't any music, no special production aids, there's no heavy duty cuts here and there. It's just somebody saying what they need to say. Now we'll probably get into an area that even if you've been in radio a while, you would have maybe heard some of these terms or all of these terms, but not know exactly what it is. So we'll start off research with an AMT. Now what does that mean, AMT? Auditorium Music Test. AMTs aren't done all that much anymore because they're so expensive to do. Basically what would end up happening, you'd get 100 people, you'd bring them into a room, you'd play them 500 songs, have them grade them, saying 1 to 5, I either hate it to like it, and then a second question of, are you sick of it or not? That's basically it, and then you tabulate everything, and then you'd know, okay, these are bad songs to play, and these are good songs. That's essentially what an AMT is. Live people in a room. Music call out is sort of doing the same thing, except you're only maybe asking for about 15, maybe 20 songs, and you're doing calls to people. You're calling people at random. And this isn't really done all that much anymore, depending on the country, I guess, because it's hard to get a hold of people now, because most people have cell phones, and, how do you do that? How do you know their number? Perceptuals can be about anything. In a nutshell, usually they're used for finding out specific things about your radio station. Is the morning show liked? How is the air talent? Do people like your station? Do they think the music sucks? That type of stuff, way more in depth than that, obviously. And also they're used for finding if there's a hole in the market. Like you might be thinking, hey, I think this market can handle a country station. There isn't one. Or the one that's there is lousy, and you think you can beat them. You would do a perceptual to find out. Lastly, the last one is focus groups. This is like any corporation, any business. You bring 10 people into a room, and then a moderator asks them questions. And while that's going on, you're looking through the glass watching the group. And these tend to be a different kind of research in that the moderator will throw out questions, and then the people in the room just start talking about it. There's no right or wrong. It's a discussion. Perceptuals usually are filling out forms sort of like tests in high school, and the call out is just asking for their opinion on stuff. Same thing with doing the AMTs. It's an opinion of music or something in the room. Now let's move to the gorilla in the room ratings. They are unbelievably important for a radio station or a television station or any media thing for that matter. And I'm going to just skim over this because when we get into ratings, we'll really explain this. But just to give you an idea, the two primary ways they're done now, they're done with PPMs, which it means portable people meter, and they look like this. Or the old method, which is done in tons of markets and a whole bunch of countries still, which is a diary method where somebody basically keeps a diary and they either fill it out during the day or usually it's done at night. At night before they go to bed, what did I listen to? I can't remember. Well, I'll just write this down. Not exactly the most scientific way, but that's the way it's done. These next three are interrelated. TSL is time spent listening. How long is somebody listening? And then when did they listen? How long did they stay when they were listening? And how many actual total amount of people actually came in to listen? It sort of works that way. You don't need to know a whole ton of this. We'll go into it way more later. It's mainly for salespeople, really. But if you're programming, you need to know a couple of these things. One of them is the average quarter hour, which is the quarter hour share. It's how you get your rating. It's the stuff that actually counts. And it all depends on the demo because that number is going to be different depending on the demo that you ask the question about. Again, highly complex. But essentially, it's the average number of people that are listening in any 15-minute period. Looking ahead to Cume and Reach, it's the number of different people total that have come into your radio station for at least 5 minutes. The best way to think about this is this visual that I'm about to show you. This is all you really need to know for right now. This is quarter hour. This is Cume. Quarter hour, Cume. Well, that should tide everybody over now on the words and terms of radio. I mean, there may be others, I'm sure there will be, that'll come up along the way, but those are the main ones you need to know as we get into the course and actually programming a radio station, which we are about to start on lesson number 3 because that's coming up next. I'm going to slowly get into programming, in little baby chunks because it's a skill, it's an art form that you just can't throw out there and learn it in a day. You have to sort of understand what's going on and then live it a bit, and then from that point on, you start putting your personality into your radio station the way you want to do it. So that's coming up next. We'll start that baby off with all the fun part in lesson 3. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button. It's just down below or over on the side here, somewhere in there. And also make sure you sign up for notifications so each time I put out a new lesson, you're going to get notified and then you can come watch it. As always, thank you very much for listening. I really appreciate it and watching the channel and watching these lessons. I hope you get a whole bunch out of it and it really helps your career. Until the next time, see ya!